Hello and welcome to Chapter 9. So, we're going to be talking about sniffers. All right, don't forget, I'm going to ask you to take a few notes. So, have Microsoft Word open and be ready to take the notes so you can upload them as homework. All right, so here's the first thing I want you to write. Sniffers are utilities that you, as an ethical hacker, can use to capture and scan traffic, capture the traffic moving across a network. All right. The protocols that can be sniffed are Telnet, RLogin, HTTP, SMTP, and NTP, FTP, POP, IMAP, anything that's in clear text. We will also, we'll do that in the lab, by the way, and we'll use the sniffer Wireshark to capture Telnet and SSH sessions. And you'll see that with Telnet, you'll be able to see the password, but with SSH, because it's encrypted, you won't be able to see it. All right, so sniffing tools include Wireshark, TCP dump, WinDump, OmniPeek, DSniff, EtherApp, MSN Sniffer, and New Witnesses. There's plenty of those. All right, the other thing that I want you to write is MAC flooding. So those are the tools that you are using. Copy those. So another thing that I want you to know is what MAC flooding is. So write this down. MAC flooding turns a switch into a hub. That's what it really does. And by filling in the content access addressable memory, this is the CAMP. This is really the MAC address table. So you just keep sending fake MAC addresses using a utility called MACoff. You can just by typing the command, and it keeps sending that. Because the switch has a reserved memory for the CAMP, and if it's filled, it will no longer put any more addresses in there. So if all of these addresses in the CAMP are fake, and you just keep filling it in with fake addresses, anybody that wants to send data won't be able to communicate. And what the switch has to do when they receive the data, they have to send it to everybody else, and that's what really a hub does. So by doing that, you are, if you use the MACoff utility to attack your switch, you're turning a switch into a hub. How do you prevent that? Well, port security, of course. All right, make sure only specific MAC addresses can go through a certain port. We can use 802.1x and MAC address security on the switch to prevent MAC flooding. So write this down. How do you prevent or mitigate MAC flooding? You use 802.1x and MAC address security. What is 802.1x? This is the switch is told anybody that comes in through the port, they have to wait. The information is sent to a server for authentication before the port opens and lets you in. And if you have MAC security, like we do in our Cisco class, you can set the maximum amount of MAC addresses that can enter through a specific port, and you can actually have a specific MAC address, MAC filtering, to make sure only specific MAC addresses can go through. ARP poisoning is also something you should know about. Write this down. ARP poisoning is when you place fake gateway addresses and place them for the man in the middle attack. We will do that down the road using ARP spoof. So remember the ARP, the address resolution protocol, every time it sends out an ARP request, and if you need to go outside your LAN, you're actually asking for the MAC address of your default gateway. But if I can go in there and give you my MAC address as an attacker, then I'm poisoning the ARP, and then you'll be using me thinking that I'm your gateway. And of course, I will capture your data and then send you out to the internet. I'm the man in the middle. I can watch you if your data is not encrypted, or I can use some specific utilities such as SSL stripping to capture your data and read what you are sending. So we want to avoid that as well. MAC spoofing is something else I want you to know about. MAC spoofing meaning you don't want to use your MAC address. You don't want anybody to know who your MAC address is. So you can use MAC changer to do that. again, we'll be able to use that. For example, let's say you're sitting in the airport and you want to get on the internet, you'll be able to view when somebody is getting on the internet because they have a hotspot and they're using their MAC address to the, their ISP is filtering the MAC addresses according to, you know, their clients' MAC addresses. You can see all the MAC addresses that are being authenticated to a specific access point. And, you can capture that MAC address and using MAC changer, you can give yourself that MAC changer and you can hop into the session, hijack the session, and you'll gain access. The only problem with that is that person is going to probably get knocked out, or both of you may not be able to access. Or you can wait till they leave, of course, and then you can use their MAC address to access the network. Illegal, of course, you're not supposed to do that. So we'll use MAC flooding, ARP poisoning, and MAC spoofing later on with our lab. So networks against these types of attacks. Okay, you want to use hardware switched networks, implement IP-DHCP snooping. We'll do that in our Cisco class on how to prevent somebody pretending to be a DHCP server. Implement policy to prevent promiscuous mode on the network. Some adapters are network NICs are in promiscuous mode, which means they're indiscriminate. They accept any type of data. We want to disable that. Be aware of where you place your access points, your wireless router. Encrypt all the data in transit and store it if possible. All right, so write these down. Let me repeat that again, and I'll have you, let me see if it's down here. I know I said all that stuff, but nope. Okay, well, I'll repeat it again just to make sure. So, defenses against, MAC flooding, ARP poisoning, and MAC spoofing. So you need to do the following. Number one, write this down. Use hardware switched network. Implement IP-DHCP snooping. Implement policy to prevent promiscuous or indiscriminate mode on network adapters. Be aware of where to place your access points. Encrypt all the data in transit or stored, or standing still. Now, you want to use static ARP entries if you can. So this way you can prevent also the ARP flooding or ARP poisoning. You can use port security. Remember, write these down as well. This is all defenses against MAC flooding, ARP poisoning, and MAC spoofing. You want to use IPv6 instead of IPv4, all right? Because IPv6 is a lot more secure than IPv4. Use SSH instead of telnetting. Always use SSL. Never, ever connect to a website using HTTP. And of course, you want to use VPNs whenever possible. And we'll be able to set VPNs, proxy servers. You can have free VPN connection, by the way. So we'll do that later on. So if all your data will be 100% secured. All right, to detect sniffing attack. Another thing I want you to write. How do you detect the sniffing attack? Write the following. Number one, the card is running in promiscuous mode. That means indiscriminate mode. All right. So somebody may go in and enable your card to be in promiscuous mode. You want to, number two, run a network intrusion detection system, NIDS, or NIPS, network intrusion prevention. Number three, you want to use HP Performance Insight if you have that, which can provide you a way to view a network and identify unusual traffic. This can also be used to tweak an anomaly signatures in an IPS. All right, so how do you detect sniffing attacks? Card running in promiscuous mode. You run a NIDS or NIPS, network intrusion detection system, or network intrusion prevention system. or use an HP Performance Insight. All right, so those are what I want you to write down to submit for homework. Again, please read these notes carefully. All right, so I think after this chapter, we will be having our midterm. So all the notes, I think we skipped like chapter 2 and 3. But anyway, just make sure all the notes that we went over, you go over the notes, because I will take questions right out of the notes. And at the end of each chapter, by the way, when we cover, there are multiple choice questions that I will give you the answers to, but you will, I'm going to take questions out of those too. So again, read the notes, read the chapter, and you should be well prepared, okay? And most of our work in class will be doing hands-on. Either we're going to be doing the exercises from the book or the hands-on lab that we're going to be doing together. Um, a lot of the labs that we're going to be doing will work perfectly, but some of them, there are defenses against them. We're not going to be able to. And every time we are doing any of these labs, by the way, I want you to think about the defenses. How do we protect the user? Remember, you are a pen tester, an ethical hacker. And so at the end of the day, you want to be able to write a report about all the vulnerabilities and what you were able to hack into. And you want to be able to list the remedies for all of these, right? How do you rectify all of these problems that they might, your client might have? All right. So again, I will see you in the next chapter. Keep up the good work. Make sure you keep up your studying, right? Read. Reading is extremely important. All right. I'll see you on the next chapter then.